there's also another marketing
Yeah,
company
you know, that's a little.
who can hold a tune too,
Yeah.
better than me.
I sent him a message telling him, "Can you tell the guy?" He's like, "Rehearsal." He ignored me. Did Mark Henry tell you that people will send him money? I'm trying to send money to you.
Really? I never got it either.
No, I sent it to. I don't play with money.
I'm messing with y'all.
Mark Henry said, "You sent it to the wrong
The
person."
wrong mark. I sure
Look, I
appreciate
got
it.
a good spirit.
Yeah, I sure appreciate it. My daughter of mine would have kept it. Yeah, she either took it on as a blessing. She either called it a blessing.
Oh, well, thank you.
Look what the Lord has done. Yeah. Look what the Lord has done.
I guess we're cousins.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Okay, so, did you want to be close to CJ? I mean, close to Christian.
Already planned.
So let's,
I can read between the lines.
Absolutely.
okay. All right, so have him, so let's sit you there because we got to get the camera angle set, right? Is there somebody on the camera? Okay. All right, so you sit, and how tight are we? Just make sure everybody's in the shot. So, okay.
I mean, if I'm out,
No, we can get you in, yeah. Hat on.
We gonna make those people mad.
Either that or I'm gonna shine some light. Ain't nobody gonna be able to see nothing.
You know,
Like,
yeah.
all I know is like there was like this caramel milk dud.
I've been a hit rebel for a long time, dog. So yeah, it's right on my belly.
All right, so CJ, you've got to position yourself so that you have the clear shot of Mark. See how you're covering Mark up? Mark, move your chair forward.
Move my chair forward.
Yeah.
If you just hide the muscles of his. Did I make it, Tim?
Yeah, just look over here, you'll see. Look over this television over here. See you in there? Yeah.
Yeah, come over.
how we looking, Nick?
So lost without it. Just in there. Yeah. George, we out here now? Tomorrow? Saturday.
And get put your mic in.
Yep. Saturday.
Let's bring you in some more. So you can get right on your dad's hip. Like inside hip. Right in this. Yep, right in there.
Now I can see you when you make faces.
Yeah. When you put the two fingers behind his head and everything.
Over here like, well, you know.
Okay, everybody's in good shot. I think we all good. Let me get my other iPad so I can monitor it out.
Praise the Lord, and welcome to Faith Ministries and Greater Victory. Tonight is our regularly scheduled Bible study, but with this being Men's Month, we wanted to switch it up a little. And so Sunday being Father's Day, I thought what better than to have fathers and sons on a panel-like discussion and discussing some things, some questions that might have been as a potential father, someone who's getting ready to enter into fatherhood. And so we also want you guys to be interactive, so feel free to ask some questions. We'll have a question and answer period where we'll allow our viewers to chime in. And so what I'm going to do for those that don't know everyone that's on the stage, and they might get me for this, but what I would like for each person to do is the fathers introduce their son, and the son introduce their fathers. All right, and we'll start over here, Charles.
I am here with a magnificent. Okay, no, not that. I am here. I'm George. I'm sorry.
I am here with Caleb Michael McSears, that is my son.
Hate to be that guy, but I have the extra most bestest dad here. Listen, all right, you did a good job. But this is my dad, George McSears, right here.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to introduce my son, right?
Yes, sir.
I am introducing the most dynamic, amazing son in the world, next to myself as a son. And that is Ellis Woolfolk, my son.
I'm introducing my dad. This is the greatest drummer in the world, next to Tony Williams, of course. That's my favorite. I mean, he could agree, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Yeah, and there's some other things we'll talk about. So.
Well, I have two boys, two of my sons who are fathers, and my eldest, call him Big Mike, my eldest son, football extraordinaire, Michael Martin, and I have my wannabe LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, but got the skills, worship leader, musician, singer, all of that, my son Devontae Harris.
And I'm here.
Well, you got to introduce their dad.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. Go ahead. Y'all better speak up.
I guess I'll take over since I'm the eldest. We had the amazing pastor,
You ain't got to lie.
Bishop, Tommy D. Harris.
Anything to add?
Amazing.
Now it's my turn. So I'm here to introduce the world to the good Mark Ballard, right? This is yeah, you can get sunshine or you can get rain. So I'm here to introduce you to the sunshine. This is Mark Anthony Ballard II, my pride and joy and namesake, and he makes me the most proudest dad in the world.
And that is Mark Anthony Ballard I, business guru, executive record producer extraordinaire on the gospel side and all sides of the music industry. You didn't expect that, did you?
Guru? I'm going to have to put that on my license plate.
Put it on your resume.
This is my son, Christian Falk. You'll probably see him running around like he's lost doing service because I'm usually upstairs working. So look, I believe in a whole, it takes a village. So if y'all see him acting out and doing something he ain't supposed to do, y'all grab him too. Even out in the street and anywhere you see him, you grab him up. So, but this is Christian. He's a very good kid. And yeah, your turn. Go ahead, Nick. We hear you.
Okay, you guys. This is my dad, the greatest dad ever. He's a minister. He was tough on when he was a kid, but he's super cool. CJ.
Thank you. So we're actually going to let Christian start off with the first question so he won't get restless. So let's go ahead and knock his out.
My first question is, what was the best or worst Father's Day gift that you gave your dad or received as a kid? As a dad.
Best or worst? Either or.
Gabe,
Mm-hmm.
I can remember giving my dad, we used to go white bass fishing, and he liked rooster tails, and I don't know if anybody knows what those are. It's just a spinner on a hook, and being young, you don't have a lot of money, so I thought I was doing something big, and I got him one of those lures that dip down for saltwater fish, and it's big. Nothing you ever catch on Lake Erie unless you have a boat. We always fished off the wall, and he kept it, which was surprising to me. It was terrible because he never used it, and I'm like, when are you gonna use the big one? When are you gonna use the big one? But he never used it. He still that lure. I have that tackle box since he passed, and it was a terrible gift. But I was proud of it because he kept it. So.
And I got to go down the long line of Father's Day's presents I gave my dad. I go with the best one. I think the best one was probably a gift card to Micro Center. I don't know why, but whenever my dad gets a gift card from Micro Center, he turns like a whole different dude.
I love it.
He's like super happy. He's like, I'm finna go tonight. Go spend his gift card. So I think that's one of the best ones. One of the worst ones, I think it was in kindergarten. The teacher wouldn't get off my back because I didn't like drawing in kindergarten. So the teacher was like, oh, make a card for your father. So I wrote Happy Father's Day in the card. And she was like, draw something. And I was like, no. And then so I like drew like a very poor drawing. I was like, oh, Happy Father's Day to my dad. And I think that was probably the worst one because I was like, I do not want to write all this.
Actually, I loved them all. So,
My turn?
You good?
So, I'm trying to think back. Probably the best. So we got to go way back to another generation.
All right.
So it's like in elementary school. Those were the days where you had like craft days. You'd make the gifts.
Macaroni.
And so remember we used to do the
Ashtrays.
we make the plaster molds, and then you take the picture and you put it on the mold, and then you have to put the shellac or whatever that clear stuff on it. And I made it was I think it was Wilt Chamberlain. And yeah, I'm just remembering this
You dating
as
yourself.
well.
wow.
Yeah, and it was like, but it was cool because my dad kept it, of course, and then it becomes one of those things that stays on a shelf, like you're in college and it's still on the shelf, and then you flip it over and it has a date that you made it on, and like Happy Father's Day. So that was kind of neat. I remember that. Probably the worst, also in that era, would have been like that Brute cologne.
Oh man.
It's probably still there.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. What is that?
Yeah, see, they don't even know about Brute.
It was missing 2 letters. AL. It's
Like
brutal.
every day, right?
It's brutal cologne. That's what
Yeah,
that
it was
is.
brutal. Yeah, it was either that or Irish Spring, one of the two. But I think it was a Brute cologne.
Terrible.
I'll say, honestly, he's not one that I can't say it was the worst or best. Like, he's so simple. I've been like, I'll go to the store and be like, hey, here's some socks. And he's like, oh, thanks, or like a gift card to like any restaurant. It don't matter if they got a burger and fries. It's cool. Like, he's so simple. So that's the thing I do appreciate about him is like, you don't really have to make it super difficult when it comes to gift giving. And I like to try to think a lot, but for him, he makes it easy. So that's why I say it's not really a worst or best thing for me.
I mean, my sister was kind of the one who got us together, and I didn't really have it back then. So, I mean, I would say the best I gave is probably money.
Yeah. Money will.
I can piggyback off of that.
Yeah, and I just think this upcoming Father's Day, he already know what he's getting, but
What is it?
I told him I'm getting him 2 pair of shoes.
Okay.
I'm gonna get him right.
Nice.
To piggyback, our sister is the mastermind, but we normally get stuff together as siblings. So she'll be like, this is what we're getting them, but I just need the money for it. So we drop the money too, but whether it's shoes, cologne, we try to do what we can. I remember we got them the cologne last year. So
Yeah, these shoes I have on, I think they bought these. I'm going to say, well, he's a father, so you can talk about you being a father.
I guess my 2 older kids, my youngest isn't in kindergarten yet. And it's special to me. It's not that big, but they make the little, like, I love you, Dad things in school. They just put their picture in it. And, I mean, both of them still stand in my refrigerator, and I can go back and look and be like, what happened to these kids? The good days, when they, got along. But just being able to go back and see those memories, like, I cherish those gifts more than anything. So.
Oh, me? I mean, my kids are babies, so just they smiles is good for me. My wife give me gifts. I'm not a materialistic person though. So like, just love on me. That's cool with me.
Wait, I'm sorry. Were we supposed to say our favorite thing that we got too?
Your favorite or your worst?
Oh, I wasn't paying attention to that.
Wow, what a moment.
That's because I was doing the audio thing. That's what it was.
You want to share?
Yeah, because they got me that recliner.
Oh.
Wow, very
Yeah.
nice.
Because I like TV,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to eat while I watch TV. And the recliner is perfect for eating and watching TV, except I get in trouble for putting crumbs in my recliner.
Is that recliner now that you go to
Well, that's kind of mine too, but
Okay. Gotcha.
yeah. And I get candy. They get me like lots of candy. They go to the dollar store, and I get a gift bag with Jolly Joes and Mike and Ike's and Red Hots and hot tamales. Yeah.
So do you get that before or after service? I'll know when.
You see him moving up and down.
Yeah, I
what it
eat
is.
during service. I'm on the move a lot, so yes, wonderful gifts. I haven't had a bad gift yet, so.
As my boys mentioned, they've given me some great gifts as adults, so wonderful. I believe someone did buy me made me a necklace with some fruity Fruit Loops on it. But as a son to my father, I want to say my worst. I'll mention my worst is I thought there was this movie that came out, and he told me he didn't see it. So I went and got the DVD. Like, man, I'm gonna give him this DVD, let him watch it. So I brought it to him, and he looked at me. He's like, Didn't even say thank you. I said, ain't that about a bull? I wasn't gonna cuss y'all, I'm saints. Ain't that? And he told me, man, I wanted money. I was like, man, this ain't this son of a gun. So I've learned my lesson is just go get that man a gift card or some money. So I've learned my lessons through those situations, That was the worst gift.
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I feel.
Point made. The point's made. Point's made.
No,
I
I remember it's the classic like Curve, the spray,
Curve.
fragrance.
Everybody's
year.
name on it.
Everybody's name on it.
Generations of names on it.
In years of Curve.
Years of Curve.
Wow.
Like it was. I don't even know if you like Curve. You probably don't even wear Curve. But just mom buy some Curve. All right. But this year I got something nice too, and it just happens to be the same thing you got, but he don't know. So this year is the best one, probably.
There you go. So yes, I have closets and drawers full of socks. Still, for years. Father's Day gifts. Full of socks.
And probably Christmas
I don't
presents.
need any more socks.
Let's take some.
Yeah, I don't need any more socks. Let that be a lesson to everybody. I don't need any more socks. And now I'm going to raise the standard way up here for everybody so dads can be blessed this year. For my dad, my best gift that I bought him was the year he retired. I bought him a brand new 1998 Lincoln peanut butter top, drove it out, and had to try to hide a whole car for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pretty proud. It was my dad. My dad.
Well, the way my
dad-
bank account is set up, I got a checking and a savings. And we interior.
And that was not a brag, but I'm just saying it
That's
meant so
amazing.
much. Yeah, I'm not an NFL guy, but it's always the high mom thing. But for me, Dad has always been on the road. He was my roommate, best man in my wedding, all those kind of things. So when he came out after spending 42 years in Ford for us, it was the best that I could do for him to just say, Doc, appreciate it,
Yeah,
when
man.
I was able to do it. So I just thank God I was able to do it at that time. But everybody step your game up.
Well, I hope you enjoy your shoes.
I guess I won't be getting the car. I'll be walking.
It was like,
I will be walking.
Mark Anthony, that is transportation.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say for me, for my dad, it was the best and the worst all in one. And so it was like, when you get somebody who already has everything, I've done the ties, I've done the socks. And so I was trying to be really creative with my gift that year. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to give him the gift of more life. So what I did was I found him a personal trainer to get him, to exercise.
You said
to
gift.
eat right.
You said
Yeah,
gift.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gave it to him as a gift.
He had a heart attack working out.
But the worst part was, I think I paid for like 12 sessions.
Wow.
Okay. But when those 12 sessions was up, he called me and was like, when you gonna pay my bill?
wow.
Well, that's Dad, that was like the initiation.
Yeah.
You gotta pay it going on, but I kept having to, it was a gift that kept on giving. I had to keep paying. So it was the best and worst. So Christian wanted to answer was,
So did you have to get him any more gifts? Or
I did give him more. Go ahead, buddy.
So the worst gift that I gave it was in 2020. I gave him one of my toys. And the good gift that I have so far was a dad thing that he has in his room still. I have one. It said, "Dad, you're amazing," or something.
And it was like a little trophy. It's on my desk. It says, "World's Best Dad."
But this year, I got something good. It's out of hand.
All right.
You
And
got
then another bad one was I gave him one of his stuff in his room.
Cycle gift. All right, did you want to do your last one? So this one we're not going to necessarily go around. Anyone could just jump in and answer.
Okay, so how do you handle when your son is right about something and you are wrong?
y'all have fun with that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm waiting for that to happen.
What? George says that hasn't occurred yet.
Nope. I can answer.
You gonna answer?
No, you go.
Well, I was gonna say, I can say my oldest son here, he's always right when it comes to sports. I don't care it was wrong, but he'll make sure he argue us all the way down to all of us be like, all right, man, you're right. You're right. So usually when it comes to sports, but any arguments, I think we've had, both of us, we've all had our arguments, but there have been times where I had to sit back and like, all right, you was right. Because I've made some, as a father, I've made some mistakes with both of these boys, because the way I've been taught and thinking the way you've been taught is how you should raise your kids. And for some situations that may be correct, but in some situations it was not correct. And so I had to go back and learn how to apologize and say, you was right. So.
For me, I'll say my son, before he went off to college, was a good boy, and he was a good listener. And I think I sent him off to an HBCU, and Malcolm X was his instructor. Because he came back, and everything we taught him in Little Lorraine, Ohio, was challenged by whoever that guy was at HBCU down in Morehouse.
It wasn't just one guy.
You had the same professor. It's like all of a sudden, man, everything I taught him was wrong, and so yeah, I just learned to listen because they're so much smarter than me now.
Well, I had a moment, and it was an amazing moment, and it wasn't that long ago. So my son, Ellis, Ellis is very mild temperament, and not real aggressive, you know? And he just kind of, and so this was a few months back. Wasn't, I don't know, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. And it was so amazing that I told people, and I went up and told I was like, honey, I was in the basement, and you know, sometimes I can get kind of snippy. Y'all know how I get kind of. And I was in one of them snippy modes because he did something, said something or whatever. And so I was addressing him, and he said that, what did you say? He said something about the tone that I was talking to him.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. No,
I was
because
like,
That will
you had
preach.
said something, and I was like, I said I didn't appreciate how you was talking.
there was.
But it was like,
yeah.
no, it came from like, you know, I'll tell everybody as a man, especially as a man, go to therapy, like take care of yourself.
Yes.
So with this therapy journey, I've been learning to really like communicate like effectively, and even when it comes to talking to parents, leadership, whoever, people on the job, you know. So I had to think of the most business appropriate response, because with him it's very like, you know, you have to, I mean, just be careful. You know, you
It
always want to be careful.
affirmed that therapy works.
Yeah.
And y'all have no idea. So some people would have been like, "Man, who are you talking to?"
And I remember-
I was like, yes.
Yeah, and I remember your reaction was just kind of like, oh, like you was like taken aback by it, but I only meant well. I only meant
No,
to
I
communicate,
was
like,
I was
you know,
not just taken back. I was like, yes.
I'm gonna try that
Thank
when
you.
I get home tonight with Nana. See how she responds to me. Her tone.
Okay, you can do it, Mark. You
Her
can do
tone is
it.
always foul.
No, but seriously,
hello,
yeah, it was. He said it. It wasn't disrespectful. It was appropriate. It was. He looked straight at me and said it. He didn't disrespect me. He didn't do it. It was, and I was beyond pleased, because I know that it took amazing growth. And so yeah, I went up and talked. I was like, I was all excited.
Oh, I didn't know. I
Oh yeah,
thought-
he didn't know that part. I had to
No,
kind of hold it, like,
no.
you know. But oh my goodness, man. And so that was probably, you know, as a parent, as dads, those breakthrough moments where we see a shift, and we always knew it was there, and it's like, how do you bring that out? How do you get that? And at that stage, you have the confidence that they're okay, that no matter what, okay, yep, you ready for anybody, everybody. And so yeah, that was like, that was a moment that I knew he was right. And I took my wrong, and I just kept, I took my tail ahead and kept on going.
I will say.
Can I add another?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, please go.
You can go ahead.
Okay, I would say, so for my kids, I've always tried to raise my kids like they would be adults someday. So I never wanted this, I'm gonna treat you this way because I said so kind of a dad, until you get here, then all of a sudden I gotta turn another switch off. So I raised them to be very vocal, because a lot of, real talk, in the generation ahead of us, we were taught to be seen and not heard, right? And I just thought that was crazy all along. But of course, to survive and live, you had to be quiet, right? But,
Right.
but I didn't want to do that to my kids. So my kids will sit and go toe to toe, talk to, and you're gonna know exactly what they're thinking. Mark County's very mild mannered. His sister's not.
Yeah, we got
Is that the
parallels.
understatement? Sure.
So I've got an Ellis. He's got a Mark Anthony. He's got a Mariah. I got a Lindsay.
Amen.
There you go.
And thank goodness for Jasmine, who just kind of evens it all out, right?
Our girls stood in the same line
Yeah.
and got all their attitude.
Well,
Well,
just to piggyback
Yeah.
on what you said as far as like
No, I'm
giving
good.
them the
I'm remembering
go
to hear
ahead
something.
to voice. I try to do that a lot with Christian. You know, if he says, you know, Dad, I'm mad, I say, okay, why are you mad? What made you mad? Like, I try to get him to really express himself, so when he's an adult, you know, he won't be can't talk about anything. You know, just really be able to express himself. And I think a lot of times we see, and I'm not saying we as in here, but in society we see, especially men of color, who have issues expressing themselves. You know, even in their relationships, they don't really know how to express themselves. So I feel that it's our job to start young, to let them to be able to express themselves.
Yeah, so just off the rip, I've made a lot of mistakes as a person, just a human being, okay? And I don't take for granted that, I'm right, because I start up every I don't have a lot of conversations. When I do, I could be wrong, and I don't have a problem saying that I'm wrong. My sons, I've been the same. To what Mark was saying, I always talk to them. I wanted them to learn the language, because nobody's going to respect you if you can't speak the language, if you can't express yourself. And I've always encouraged them to speak. I've been plenty wrong, and I don't have a problem saying, man, you know what, I was off, or I wasn't right, and I think that's it's a good. I don't, you know, I'm sure I could have an opinion about, you know, a game or a show, but we generally keep it light. We have a nice light relationship, and then, you know, when things get heavy, there are times where you turn into, you know, lion dad, and you gotta do your thing. Yes, and there are plenty of times where, you know, you can, you know, just kind of hang out and be free. We don't need to go back and forth. And where we might disagree, we can disagree. We could both be right. We could both be absolutely wrong. But it's never. I think what really shows the strength of a man, not just a father, but the strength of a man, is to be able to say, "Hey, I messed up."
Yeah. So true.
And don't let it erode you. You know, just because you might be wrong about something, it doesn't mean that you are a wrong person.
It's good.
So I'll segue into this question there. How did your own father shape the way you approached fatherhood? To the dads.
I can go first. So I'm gonna say this, and you would never tell by looking at us, but this is not my biological father. But this is my dad. And so right off the rip, my oldest son is not my biological son, you know. And so I literally had a manual, you know, growing up, because he never treated me like I was different than my sibling, you know. So when it came time for my son to be in my life, I wanted to make sure that he knew that he wasn't going to be different, that I loved him the same, that is my oldest son, that is. So he laid that down very early. And I can even say the same thing for him, because even though he's the biological, he saw that. We were brothers. We were never step. We were never half. He saw that. And so from the very beginning of me deciding to become a father, I had an example of how to do this. So that was really big. So my son knows from the beginning, like, that's dad. That's not Mike. That's not, you know, that's dad. And I'll do whatever for him the same way he would do whatever for me, whether that's tough love or what. But I have to treat you as my son, not as my step, not as anything like that. So.
Yeah, I will piggyback, because the same situation in my situation, my father gave me his name, who raised me, Tommy Harris Jr., not his biological son. And so it's like it is hit from generation to generation. He never treated me this difference. And I found out when I was like, I think 9, 10 years old. It was kind of a big secret. And, you know, back in them days, they kept secrets. But I never treated him differently, or he treated me differently. And, you know, and to this day, it's probably been 20 years where now I do have a relationship with my biological dad. But, you know, you have an example. I mean, for him to take my mom, who was pregnant, and marries her and says, "Hey, I want to give him my name," that's big. That's huge. That's huge. And so sometimes it has been an issue in our family, like, why did he get the name? But overall, you know, it has been a blessing, because I try to live by that name. I think our name is stronger than our words. So I believe the way we carry ourselves, and people understand, hey, that's Tommy. You're Tommy Harris's son. So you have to make sure we carry the name correctly. I hope I answered the question right.
I'm not a father, but some things my dad taught me was, my dad and my grandpa, it wasn't so much as what they did as much as it was the people and things around them. It's like literally everybody that knows my dad can't say a single bad thing about him. But okay,
that's because they don't know.
My dad proved me wrong. but one thing they always taught me was, like, just like as a man, like, make sure you take care of people around you and make sure you treat everybody, give them your best. Like, you can be mad going to school one day. It doesn't mean you have to be nasty and rude to everybody. It means, like, treat them with respect. If you're mad, I mean, be quiet or try to, you know, you ain't gotta, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like you ain't gotta be all angry all the time. It's like sometimes, you know, sometimes you gotta step back. You gotta, like, sometimes eat your emotions, and then, you know, you always gotta express yourself, but sometimes you gotta eat it and, like, stuff like that.
That's good.
I'll say for me, so my dad and I, from the time I was 4, I went into the family business, which was the band, right? So when we went to the basement, it was one man, one vote, and no matter if I was 4, if they were 40, we got the same vote and the same weight of a voice. So one of the things I learned most from my dad was patience, giving people's ideas a chance, even though you think you know what you want it to be and do. You got to try other people's ideas and really give it your full heart in doing that. And in teaching those patients, you're just slow to respond and sit there and let it kind of digest and marinate so you're clear what the other person is saying to you. So I would say the patience and the way my dad kind of, nobody can ever say a bad word about my dad. I mean, no matter where you go, black, white, Hispanic, short, atheist, or single, they all treat him the same. Everybody loves Clarence Ballard. And that was a great tool, a great lesson. That's better than any college we could have gone to. It's just how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
And he was really, really good at that.
That's good. My dad was terribly old school, born in '44, so not real expressive with love, if you will. Not as when I was a kid.
Right.
So he was kind of hands off. My mom, she ran everything. I don't know if you know how Southern folks are. So Pops will work, he come home, he do his thing, and but you get these little nuggets. So he'll fuss when he want to fuss, and but generally he's gonna eat a plate and he gonna go to bed because he got to work, and. But I didn't get to see like my real dad. I want to say, and I'm not saying not about. But I didn't see the real character or the real personality of my dad until I got older. Of course, move out, and when the grandchildren came along, I was like, oh, for real. I didn't know my dad. Whenever he laughed, he was just cracking on us. We'd be going back and forth because my dad was funny like that. But we got to a point, especially when the kids come along, when the babies started happening, he called them the posse. He got mad at me if I didn't take him over there every week, and he would do things like my wife, I love her. She would get them, in khakis and polos, and they look all nice and clean. I go pick them up the next day, and they got popsicles. It was like popsicle juice all over. And but my dad loved to spoil them, and around the babies, he just lit up. And so I saw that, and I know, he had to be who he had to be, and that's what he knew, and that's the best. But I can say my dad was always there. I knew he loved me, and it was good to be able to say I love you. And we got, first it was grunts, and then it was all right. And then it was, love you too. And then, it was easier. It got easier and easier. But, he just did what he thought men, he was who he thought men were supposed to be. And like I said, he was there, he was available. And if I did have a question, he gave me a lot of jobs. He was my biggest supervisor until I became his. He supervised me when we were working on cars, going fishing. He always had plenty of things to say about how to do stuff. He would never do it. He would just make me do it. But I have nothing but love for him. I mean, he has passed now, but what an awesome man.
Yeah.
Well, so those of you just now joining, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and start formulating those. Go ahead and drop them in the chat, like and share. If you know someone, tell them to come on and join in our men's fellowship tonight. But when you were talking about your dad and how he would raise his voice, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so my dad always spoke in caps. Like, always, okay? I'm like, Dad, you're not preaching here. Like, I mean, I can hear you.
Right.
But he would always yell to the point where, like, my friends didn't want to come over to my house. Like, to hang out, and like, man, your dad is always just yelling. He's always on 10. So I remember when he came to my house, I had a house built in 2014, right before Christian got here. And dad came and I made it a smart house, so I had Alexa. It was Just talk. And so I told my dad, stop. I told my dad, oh, Dad, you don't have to scream anymore, okay? You just tell Alexa to make an announcement, and it'll go all throughout the house. So with that said, I wanted to know what role does, how has technology affected your relationship with your children, whether good or bad?
I want to say that, number one, I think phones have probably been the biggest plague to humanity. Cell phones have been the biggest plague to humanity. But I can say that I don't think, even though the kids have them, they're not tethered to them. And the boys were exposed to a lot of electronics early on. And I've always I'm a tech kid. Whatever was new, I want to try it anyway. So I don't know if it changed anything other than, well, as far as our relationship, we got something to talk about. We got something to relate on to. And I know that our generation probably we saw from 8 tracks all the way up to CDs, DVDs, and iPods. So, it's like technology, not an issue. I don't think that it creates a gulf, because I know when I want to talk to them, all I have to do is call their names, and if they want to talk to me, all I have to do is call my name. And so the only thing is, they got the locations on so you can see where people are, but that's really, it's kind of like a non-issue for us anyway.
So my comment on that, so based on our age, we've gone through, Mark, because we're the same, we've gone through the whole generational spectrum of the phone. So when they first came out, so we had to go through that thing of, at what age do our kids get phones? See, later on, everybody had them all the time, but we were like in that era where if your kid had a phone too soon, you got talked about. If your kid had a phone too late, you got talked about, right? So we were in that zone where I remember the first phone that Lindsay got, it only had like 3 numbers. It was the Juke or something, because she's out riding her bike, and we wanted her to be able to call us. So there were like 3 numbers or 4 numbers or whatever you could put in the phone. So this is like the beginning of phones. And I remember Jasmine, she has a phone, and late at night, early in the morning, she's on her phone, and under her you look in the room and you see the light. So this is, now the phone becomes the punishment tool. We can take it away. So we got we got that leverage thing. And so, when's the appropriate time to get the phone? And they're asking for the phone, and it's like, and then we've got our conservative ideologies in there, and when's it, so we had to go through all that. Right now, with my kids being away, living other places, and not just the phone, but FaceTime, Zoom, and all that stuff, it's amazing, because we can meet, and it'll be all of us at the same time looking at each other, talking and laughing, and especially during the pandemic and stuff. I remember everybody was home when everybody was shut down, and we'd be in the kitchen, and we got to have strips on the table, because everybody's got 3 devices plugged in, and you got a phone, you got an iPad, you got a laptop. Yep. So all of a sudden, the kitchen, we're just drinking up electricity because everybody's on 2 or 3 devices, so what happened is we had our devices, but we were together, and it was like 5 of us in the kitchen all day, and so it was amazing. So the give and the take of it. It's been an amazing thing, but it's been a crazy journey with what technology, the interruption that it causes, where we're all sitting in one room, and they actually text each other in the same room, and that doesn't make much sense. They don't use the ringer because they don't use their phone, they just text. So it's kind of crazy, but all in all, we making the best of it, right? So
I can remember Christian had some friends over last summer, and they stayed throughout dinner, and Christian told them, he said, we don't have any electronics at the table when we were eating dinner. And the little girl said, why? He explained, well, this is the time where we talk to each other. And, I'm trying to instill those old values. And she was like, well, that's different.
Wow.
So, let's see. With that, still with the technology, how do you stay connected with your children as they grow older? So as they leave the nest, they go off to college and they never reside back in your home. How do you stay connected? Do you try to do something once a week? Do you at least try to make phone calls? For me, every Sunday, my dad, when I went to college, he said, I don't care where you are, you call me on Sunday, right before service. And that was our standing appointment. We didn't talk all week. We talked on Sunday morning before service. So have you guys implemented some standing appointment or something with your children?
Well, my kids are still at home. I mean, Caleb is about to go off to school. I don't know if I set a schedule, but anytime he wants to talk, I want to talk. I'm going to call. I'm sure he won't answer every time, but at least get back to me. Again, my kids are at home, all three boys. This will be the first one that actually leaves the nest for now.
I think my kids like their mother more than they like me. So I think they got a thread that they talk on, and I'm not able to be on that thread.
Okay.
I got on the thread when they need. And this guy, he don't need so much. But I'm big on getting confirmation, right? If I ask you a question, don't just say, oh, well, I got the text. I need to be confirmed that you got it, you understood it, and we got an action plan. And a lot of times with technology, they'll just kind of leave it floating out there. And then the next text you get from, it's like, we never answered the last question, right? So that bothers me. So I'd rather talk to you and say, yes, I am on my way. Or no, I'm not coming. Instead of just, oh, yeah, I got your message. How do I know that, right? So for me, technology, we've got some work to do on how to close those things up. But I know they all pray together and do all that kind of stuff, but I'm not on that text. I hope they're praying for me while they're doing it.
Right.
And I'm okay with it.
So what?
Now, my wife my wife and her mother, Pastor Diane, they talk every day on the phone.
Okay.
My wife and my daughters, they talk every day.
Yes.
I chime in and I get my few minutes in and I'm good. But they every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think something's wrong with that.
Yeah, usually,
Because mine do too.
usually my daughter is the one that brings everyone together. When the kids, because both of my boys, they have their own families. Michael's traveling constantly, got his kids in clubs, so just busy. Devontae doing his thing there in Cuyahoga Falls and ministry, and he's doing all those things. So my daughter finds a way, or they will FaceTime. Well, he doesn't FaceTime us, but because he has the other phone. We won't do that here.
And for the record, Android does FaceTime.
Those are the people that turn us green, right?
They turn us green. But Devontae always FaceTimes us, make sure we see the kids. And I know it's something, it's nothing like it when you have your grandkids. I mean, I love my kids. I love when I see them. But when they bring their grandkids over, it just does something to me. So I think that's another level I enjoy. But I enjoy seeing them. And then, when they go on their own, I praise God. But I finally have the house, me and my wife finally have the house to ourselves. Because since we've been together, Michael was probably 3 or 4 when we got together, and so we've never been out of the house. We always had kids. So we're getting to enjoy it. It's been the past 2 weeks.
Pastor Tommy, I don't know if CJ told you, but we're not going to talk about grandkids.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Some of us are having a little challenge in that area right now. We can talk about godkids, godchildren, but we're not going to talk about grandkids because My youngest
You
gets a
do have
pass, but my two
grandkids.
oldest,
You have them other grandkids.
huh?
You have those other grandkids. Your
Gotcha.
god babies.
Yeah, God babies. We know about God babies, but you know, I'm just.
Lord.
I'm sorry.
You mentioned something about him being busy.
Yes.
And his children being busy. So, how do you support your children's interests and passions? You know, do you constantly enter them into things, or how do you balance that?
They got a busy schedule.
I can talk.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
It's really, I want them to have every chance they can to be successful. So if there's even an inkling of interest, I'm gonna let them try it. They may not like it, then we're done. I'm a football coach. I wanted my son to play football. That's not the route he took. We gave it a try. He decided to go with different sports. But it's just, I'm gonna try to do everything I can to give them all of those opportunities, and then if they are excelling, then it's, I might have to drop more money, or we might have to travel. And it's not even necessarily sports. My daughter loves music, and I am the one person in my family that's not musically inclined. So so I gotta I gotta send her to PT, and we gotta do music that way. But it's just really, I want them to know that it doesn't matter what you do. Like, I want to be there to support you. It doesn't have to be sports. It doesn't have to be music. It could be art. It could be whatever. But I'm gonna 100% be there for you. The same way he supported me and him doing crazy stuff and going. Now I'm understanding going on the road and place all the sacrifices he had to make, taking time away from him, and But I got that, so I want to do the same thing for them.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
With me, he just, I think he really taught me a work ethic. Like, he's like, you want to play basketball? Yeah, I want to play basketball. Any other kid, yeah, I want to play basketball. But I think, I don't know if he saw something, which he probably did. He was the first person to believe in me. And him and my brother is my biggest hype man. So, like, he had me up in middle school at 5 in the morning working. Like, other kids asleep. I'm up working, grinding, because I want to play basketball. I want to be good. I want to be great. I mean, I'm still that way. I want to be great in anything I do. So I think it translated. So, like, anything, he's like, basically anything you put your mind to, or anything you want to do, you got to work at it. You can't just say you want to do something and not put the work in. So I think that was a big thing on how he supported me.
Well, I'm going to say this. I got to say this because when I watch them, they double what I do. Michael's in, when I say, because we had all them in sports and active and stuff, but he got those kids doing a lot, and he works, take care of his family, and make sure he does what he loves to do, which he's coaching. And all three of us are coaches, or some type of training, some young people. And so we, I think we just try to take that time as best we can to get time and just see each other. I may send them a text message. I love text messages because it's just, when they're in my spirit, I'm just like, okay, they don't pick up the phone, I'm gonna text and say, hey, how you doing? How you holding up? Because I know some of the struggles I struggle with, I know they struggling with. So when I feel that urge coming on with me, I'm like, hey, y'all good? Just check on my boys. So yeah, that's how we kind of stay in contact and involve in each interest of what's going on in their lives.
So when it came to supporting our kids, we wanted to provide opportunities, but we kind of were, if you start something, you're not quitting.
I know that's right.
So we're going to provide you support. We're going to provide you the resources, all the stuff you need. But when you start, not only are you not going to quit, but you got to do the work. And so we just had certain expectations. And I guess from our own experience, we were acquainted with what work was required to be successful in certain things. So, and our kids were, they were talented. And so But talent, you get to a certain level and everybody's talented in it. So it's about how talented are you. It's about how hard do you work. It's how resilient are you. So we just kind of pushed and made sure that they just, weren't just being mediocre. Average was okay. If you have average ability here, that's okay, because you have strong ability there. But mediocre was more of a frame of mind. So, and then the other thing is we made sure that the things that they were good at, we wanted them to really have opportunities there. And then things that whether that's academics, whether that's sports, whether that's music, and then things that they weren't good at, we weren't going to spend too much time there. If you're really good at math, we're going to spend a lot of time at math because you could be great at math. In reading, if you're struggling in reading, we're going to make sure that you can do everything you need to do, but we're not going to not do math because you're great at math. So it was always that thing of where you're good, you're going to be great, and where you're average, we're going to work so that you can be a little bit above average. But yeah, and they kind of gravitated towards what they were good at and what they liked. And then when we found that combination, then you start pushing and pouring into their opportunities there. So, and they all kind of found their thing. And most of them, both of them, all three of them, they kind of have stayed active in the areas where they really, had that aptitude. So,
I have a question. How did he get the hottest mic on the stage? Yeah, how did he get the hottest mic on the stage? He's fired. He's fired. It's like Luther Vandross.
I was about to say Marvin Gaye.
I got to put mine all the way up here back and comb it like I'm a rapper.
It's because I got Tommy's mic. This is the piano mic.
You can always tell when the sound man is mixing, right? He's going to be right.
No, it's the voice, man.
So within our last 5 minutes we have, I would like you guys to leave our audience with those nuggets, those gems that you might have heard your father say. It might not have made sense to you then, but as life kept lifing, you understood it much better. Anyone have anything that resonates with them that Dad might have said?
I guess with me, one of the most things that probably resonated with me is probably when I was in middle school. I didn't realize at the time, but my dad. It was funny because my dad and my coach said the same thing. They say you're better than what you realize you are. So I didn't realize how good I was, and then after a while, I was oh, I'm a talented kid. I can do stuff. So I remember I dropped basketball freshman year. Literally, I was I'm done. But the craziest thing was my dad came to every game. I would ride the bench every game. My dad come to every game. So
a lot of driving. A lot. It was a struggle.
But then after that, it was oh, maybe basketball is not my thing. Let me switch over. Let me try to figure out if I could play another sport. Well, my school didn't have football at the time because we were going through a little transition. It was weird. But I was I'm gonna try out track and field. And then I went out to track and field. And they kind of just let me do my thing, and I realized I was talented at that. And I was oh, maybe that's what he meant in middle school. Maybe basketball just wasn't it. It wasn't the next LeBron or Michael Jordan. I was the next Usain Bolt,
Yeah, my dad just, a maxim that I can remember him saying was just keep living. I ain't old, just keep living. So, but I will say this, if there is any nugget to leave, and advice to all the dads, it's okay to reveal your nurturing side. It's not a bad thing to let your kids know you love them. We think it's all the firmness. The firmness is being gruff and hard and making sure you got this box and you control it. But it's okay. You can still maintain control and show your kids love and let them know that you love them and lead with that.
That's good.
I remember my dad used to say, man, now my mic hot. Good Lord. He used to say funny sayings. He would be I'm too old of a cat to be scratched by a kid. Or we'd say something, what's that got to do with the price of tea in China?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? But on the real, I'm an observant kind of person. And the older I've gotten, the more I've seen me and my dad are very similar in the sense of passion. like we're passionate about things that we're passionate about. One thing in particular is like the city of Lorraine, just Northeast Ohio in general, wanting to see everybody be great and having that like instilling mindset of like, you know, my dad could have, like there's multiple times like they could have lived in Atlanta, they could have moved in Louisville, I could have been born in a bunch of different places, but they chose to stay and do what they're doing here. And then same with me, I have many opportunities. I could have stayed in Atlanta, I could have did that, I could have did that. And then the space I'm in right now is just so much positive energy and synergy around just helping us in Lorraine and being proud and not necessarily, man, I can make money wherever, and taking that sacrifice of like, I want to help my community. Yeah. And I've seen that through my dad, and like, I'm like, dang, I'm my daddy's son for real. I'm the second for a reason. That's crazy. But I got random sayings too that I know because of him.
I think the biggest thing for me, I mean, my dad said a lot of things, but he was a man of action. So my dad worked very hard and still was a full-time dad. You know, he wasn't missing. And one thing my dad did was cover us. You know, I remember oily hands being laid on me while I'm sleeping, good sleep. You know, he's speaking in tongues and like, if you don't get up off me, but not even understanding until I got saved and feel that, you know, a lot of attacks that could have got to me couldn't get to me, and it's probably because of these, you know, these prayers. So I mean, that's one thing I make sure I do is be a man of action. I cover my kids. Oh man, what you doing? Yeah, just, I mean, it's not more so what he says, it's just, you know, what he does. And I really appreciate it. It's my guy.
Oh, I appreciate you.
And I'll just add from my dad, he would always say, just give time. You know, things will evolve, things will develop if you give it time and stick with it. And the other thing he always told his boys is don't be a sorry joker. You know, and that's not all that deep, right? But don't be a sorry joker. And we had some examples of sorry jokers that we know exactly what he was talking about, but you were never going to outwork us. And my dad, I can't imagine, and he worked 42 years. First time he was ever overnight in hospital is, of course, when he had the COVID disease. But I never remember my dad just blowing off a day's work. I mean, things are a little bit different now, and people, you know, everybody, you know, it's a softer generation in a lot of ways, in my opinion. But my dad, every day, we would come off the road and he would go right to work. We would come off the road and make us go right to school. None of this, I'm tired. None of this, no, get your book bag. I'm gonna drop you off. And that's just the way it was. And so you just never knew, I think I got a cold, or I think I'm not feeling well, or I'm gonna lay down next to the water puddle in the store and see if I can cheat the game. And I mean, and there's some sorry jokers that do that, right? So I just appreciate him instilling in us to not be that group of people that always tried to short the system and get over on people, but put in the work and then reap the reward. So that was very, very cool from my pop. And I hope I give that to my kids.
I think your dad and my dad might have went to the same school.
You don't want to be a sorry joker either.
But his was, my dad was, my mother and my dad were both best dressed at their corresponding high schools.
Okay.
Mom was in D.C. and my dad was in North Carolina. And that man, we can be going to Wendy's and then having an ascot. I'm like, yeah, where you going? So one thing he always said, he said, don't be a dressed up dummy.
Wow.
You know, and that always resonates. You can look good as you want, but get your schooling, get your learning, you know. And so that's something that I always carry with me.
Pastor, where you going next?
I'll wait. I'll be
No, okay. My mic's so nice. I want to say my dad, so Tommy Harris Jr. would always say to me, you know, as things start progressing in my life, start seeing some good things happening, seeing dreams come to pass. When I would call him and my mom, check in on them when I was living in Indianapolis, and they're like, how's things going? I'm like, man, everything's going great, man. The kids are doing well, blase, blase. And so when it's time for Tommy Harris Jr. to get on the phone, he would say, man, keep your eyes on God. Quit looking at men. Keep your eyes on God. I'm like, folks just got saved, man. We doing this, man, doing this music here. Man, I got to meet these people. He always told me, keep your eyes on God, because man will let you down. And so one of the things I tried to, as he's speaking that over my life, is that I always try to keep my eyes on God, because man will let you down, because we're imperfect people. And so I want to encourage people of mine is that it's okay for you being imperfect. It's okay that you're still learning how to raise my kids, and it's okay to go get help or talk with someone that you trust. There was a guy named Pastor Terry Peterson. Me and Michael was going through some stuff, and he wanted to get his ear pierced. He wanted to get tatted up. He wanted to do all this stuff. And I remember sitting with Pastor Terry Peterson, and he said to me, he said, man, Tommy, he said, you're so focused on the outer appearance. He said, you need to focus on what's on the inside of your son. Make sure he's saved. Make sure he gives his life to the Lord. And so I'm their worst critics. I can be on them hard, but I love these boys to life. And I promise you, I'll come for you if you come after my clan.
So it's not a saying he had, but he said it and it resonated. And I try to, do the same thing with my kids. But he was not trying to be my friend. He told me he was not trying to be my friend. And we work together now. And people would think like we're best friends. And this is one of my best friends. And the reason why we are the way we are now is because when he was hard on me and he wasn't my friend and he wasn't the cool dad, when I got older, I understood, because I didn't have some of the trials and tribulations, because he was a father. He was not my friend. So that's something that he might not even remember it, because it wasn't a saying. But I remember sitting there hearing him saying that, and I'm mad in my room. He ain't my friend. But I got older, and I'm like, man, like I understand now. Like, so that stuck with me.
So this is going to be my first Father's Day without Dad. And two things that I remember is, so I got to a point where, especially lately, I didn't want to be able to say, if somebody asked me when was the last time I talked to my dad, the longest I ever wanted to say was yesterday. And so whenever I would talk to Dad, the last thing he'd say is, I love you, son. Love you, son. So that resonates with me all the time. And he always called me Timothy. So, and for me, it was more watching my dad. So it wasn't things that he said, but just watching him. And he and I had this kind of just unspoken. So I got a lot of whoopings. I mean, I got mine, and I got my brother, I got everybody's. But whoopings, and I wouldn't cry. I was like really stubborn. I was used to it. I was immune to the pain. And I would rather get a whooping than grounded. So get a whooping, done. I'm back out doing my thing again. And but when he would talk to me, man, he could whoop me. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't care. But when he talked to me, it was over. So, and I hated disappointing him. And so he would have these talks, and man, it was over. And of course I got a lot of talking to, probably. But I just remember my dad being, it was the tone of his voice, and he just knew exactly how to talk to me, and exactly how to say my name. No one says Timothy like my dad.
Yeah. Wow. I guess to jump on that, I can feel exactly what you're saying, because there's times where you'll say, like, there's nobody that can call my name from 2 streets over, and I'll turn around, I'm like when he says it, I'm like, okay, like it could be good, bad, and different. But yeah, he definitely like the talking to part, because I know we've had conversations where you know, I may not want to hear it, or he may not want to hear it. But when we talk, you know, it's all about getting an understanding. And I think that's one thing I learned with him, because I remember even as I was coming up, and you know, he would watch me in this relationship, that relationship, whatever. He would always notice how quick I was to get upset about something, and he would tell me, "Hey, you know, just being honest. If this person is here, you need to be here at all times." And I've always learned that, you know, patience and just having grace, and giving yourself grace, because it's hard. It's really hard when dealing with people in any capacity to be like just really even, you know, just a level playing field about stuff, because the stuff that we deal with as adults on the daily, especially in the workforce, you know, it can cause you to go there. But it's important to have that patience with yourself, as well as, have patience with yourself, you know, so that it kind of reflects on others. And that's something that I've learned with my dad. So
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, brothers, I want to say thank you, each and every one of you, for participating and being a part. I thought this would be something great. You know, Father's Day, you can get a reservation at any restaurant in the city. You know, Mother's Day, you're going to have to wait for hours. You might not be. Father's Day, you can go anywhere you want to go. But I just wanted to have an opportunity for us to just share, you know, in an atmosphere like this. And I appreciate Pastor Tim and Pastor Dina for allowing us this space.
Amen.
And allowing us to do something a little different, you know, for Bible study, and also including for Men's Month. And so because we have one of our greatest pastors with us tonight, I'm going to defer to him to close us out. And yes, sir. Anything else? Yes. You forgot.
No, I'll be serious. So I guess how I want to close, I want to, I guess, speak to a certain specific special father. And it's unique because we have some here. And I said to my dad one time, I told my dad that he has no idea what it's like to be a stepfather. And I told him, and I have no idea what it's like to be a stepson. And what was amazing is my dad has a stepfather. So there was a way in which he and my son could relate that I had no idea of. I have no idea what it's like to be a stepson. Don't want to know. I'm glad that that is not my experience. My dad, on the other hand, is glad not to be a stepdad. But it is an amazing thing. And so I never considered myself a stepfather by relationship. And so I never refer to Ellis as my stepson. He calls me Tim. There's no sign of disrespect. He knew me as Tim before I became his father. And there's another man who he knew as dad. So we've never, people out there had challenges with this. Why does he call you that? Because that's my name. And it had it didn't speak to our relationship.
Yeah.
Now it's amazing because he refers to me as dad to everybody else. Because I'm his dad, but my name is different. But what I really want to share is it's an amazing responsibility. It's an amazing relationship. And not all of us were equipped, designed, meant to be stepfathers. But if you are, embrace it, love it,
good, sir.
cherish it. And I would say this, when I first got married, the most difficult day was Father's Day. I had no idea what to do on Father's Day because my two children had a father that on Father's Day, there was an expectation. And so honestly, I was like, what do I do? How do I feel? What do I expect? And it was genuinely, honestly awkward. I would like cry sometimes, not because I just didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I can tell you it is beyond fulfilling. And so my word is kudos to all of those men and women who've taken children and genuinely treated them as if they birthed them. Into those blended families, because most of us are in some blended family world now. And so, I think about my dad, I think about my brother, I think about you men that I'm in relationship with, and we have some amazing dads. I mean, these gentlemen up here, I have a real relationship with every one of these men, and these are true men, true fathers, and I think that's one of the amazing things about our ministry. Greater Victory and Faith Ministries, we've got some men's men, and we are some good dads, and we have some great sons. So my encouragement is enjoy it, embrace it. Your sons, your daughters. I mean, this is kind of a men's fellowship, but we have some amazing daughters, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
We have, now George don't know nothing about that.
No, I'm agreeing with you. You guys have amazing daughters.
Yes.
I don't see anybody here being mediocre.
No,
So,
sir.
I think I am among a group of some all-stars. So
Yes, so
I am very
we're
proud of
just,
you.
we're grateful. And thanks for CJ for putting this together. And I think the audience has enjoyed this conversation we've had. And our wives, our daughters are proud of us. So wives, you all have raised some good husbands. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining us, and we're grateful. So Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you that you have brought us together as fathers, as men. We thank you that we have the ultimate example of fatherhood through you. We thank you that you are example in all things, that you are the absolute best father that anyone could have. And as we study your word, as we even see the relationship with you and your son, Jesus Christ, we know what fatherhood is all about.
Yes.
We thank you that we have fathers in God who have taught us how to be fathers. We thank you that we reverence you. We thank you that we raise our children. We thank you that we do this in accordance to your word, to your principles. We thank you that we believe that we took that scripture as, for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Yes, Lord.
And we thank you, Father, that we live this daily, that it is not just words, but it is indeed. And we just thank you, God. We thank you for that all that you have given us charge over, responsibility over, and we are accountable to you. We are accountable to our wives. We are accountable to our children. And we just thank you for this awesome responsibility. And we ask, God, that you would continue to bless us, bless our families, that we would continue to grow strong, and there would be examples to other families of how serving God can really bring a family together. Now, we thank you for this, God. We thank you for our churches. We thank you for our members. We thank you for all the families, and that we will be a ministry that serves families, and that families will recognize that's a place where we want to fellowship and be together. So thank you for this day. Thank you for this weekend that is coming up. Give us a wonderful celebration, some great food, not too many socks, no group cologne, and we just thank you as we laugh and enjoy each other's company. So bless us and we shall be blessed. We'll give you all praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Don't forget, this Sunday service will be here at the Faith Ministry campus, 10:30 a.m. See you then. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
now I finally get to go home. I am proud of each and every one of you. Some I've seen since I was little, some I've seen since I was a father, some I've seen since, when I was just a musician and bebopping all over the place, going to the studio, trying to be an adult. But I can say I appreciate every one of you. I appreciate you.
We've been running around for a while, haven't we?
A very long time.
They don't build them like you, brother. You're a solid dude. You're a solid dude, always.
They got some.